I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud
Wow.
who changed all of his positions and is totally useless and it shouldn't even be on here. He's just a waste of space.
Wow.
You're telling me I don't believe what I'm saying right now. You're calling me a sellout. I believe in
Did you
individual
believe the
life.
Russian propaganda you were paid for?
Oh, you are an utter
Did you believe the
buffoon.
Russian propaganda you were paid for?
I was not paid, Cenk. I was
You were
not
paid
paid for
$100,000 a video.
Oh my God, you clown! I would recommend anyone look into that to find out a bit more on that. Cenk, how much
the
when you
FBI's
took
looking
$1 million
into it.
from Jeffrey Katzenberg? What did that do for you?
I think that the left is scarred by people like Dave Rubin. But now the radical left, unfortunately, is doing what you're worried about, Piers. That the minute that they see anything where you say, I agree with the right, when they agree with us on something like anti-war, they go, oh my God, hold on, let me finish the thought. Let me finish the thought. And what people then say is, oh no, he's going to pull a Dave Rubin because these guys get paid to go fully right-wing and then they'll throw their own people under the bus. So they'll pick a gay guy like Dave to throw gay people under the bus. If you see me.
So I don't know the type of relationship that Cenk Uygur and Dave Rubin had back when Dave Rubin worked at the Young Turks, but ever since he left, apparently Cenk Uygur has had a bone to pick. And in this one, he releases years of pent-up aggression and anger onto Dave Rubin live on Piers Morgan's show, which of course causes an entertaining back and forth between Dave Rubin and Cenk Uygur. So let's have a look at this clip where Cenk Uygur attacks Dave Rubin.
Yeah, well, let's bring in my other panel members because some of them are definitely going on a very interesting journey, including new MAGA enthusiast Cenk Uygur. I said that deliberately to wind him up. The host and founder of the Young Turks. Libertarian Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem. Lindy Lee, the DNC Finance Committee member and advisor, and former woke activist turned YouTuber Amala Ekpunobi. Well, welcome to all of you. So, Cenk, I mean, many people saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of that. I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud
Wow.
who changed all of his positions and is totally useless and it shouldn't even be on here. He's just a waste of space.
Wow. Really? After what all Dave said about coming together?
Yeah. Yeah, no, got no interest in coming together with utter frauds like Dave Rubin. So, brother, you telling me that when you were on the Young Turks, you were Mr. Progressive and you agreed with us 100%. Now, all of a sudden, you agree with Trump 100%. You're not saying something nuanced like we are. Hey, you know, when the guy gets shot at and he puts his fist up, that's courageous. When he does the McDonald's photo op and it works fine, no problem, right? If he wants to cut the Pentagon, great. Those are progressive positions. Anti-corruption, progressive position. Anti-war, progressive position. But you change all of your ideology overnight and you expect us to believe that that's real? I don't think it's real at all. And I want an apology from you for all the crazy, outrageous lies that you told about the Young Turks. When is that going to happen, huh? Wow. And when are you going to admit that you changed all your positions for money? Okay. Well, what position do you still have that's in any way a so-called classic liberal? You fraud,
Dave.
Piers, it's barely worth responding to this ridiculous buffoon who's the joke of the industry. But yeah. I will say this, Cenk, I haven't spoken to you in 10 years.
Even right when you're thinking you're a total fraud.
I don't think he's a fraud or a joke. I think Dave Rubin is, for what it's worth, I think Dave Rubin is one of the most influential and significant voices out there right now. And I admire his honesty about the journey he's been on, Cenk.
Piers, I appreciate that, but you know the thing is, what Cenk just proved is exactly what everyone in America, and I would say all over the world, is getting over. Nobody wants what he just offered up there. Not only does no one believe it, and he had it prepackaged and ready to go, and it's complete drivel. Yes, I sold out. It's just so nonsensical. Again, Cenk, I'll gladly send you a signed copy of the book and you can read all of my thoughts. And if you're anti-corruption and you're anti-war, you should be on the Trump train. But your endless hatred, the division that you sow, calling everyone racist and white supremacists, all of that stuff, It's why you're not respected. But I don't mean to get into the personal side of that. I'm talking about now something that culturally has shifted, and everyone can see the grift that you're up to, trying to sort of dance with the thing. But it's just not necessary, and I don't think that many people will buy it.
Well, Cenk, let me put to you, Cenk, something that Laura. Hang on, Cenk. Cenk, hang on. I'm gonna read you something just to see your reaction. But Laura Loomer called you out on X, as you know, and she said this: "You are the radical left, Cenk Uygur. You're a con artist and an opportunistic grifter who's gotten rich off demonizing President Trump, calling his supporters fascists and Nazis, promoting open borders, glorifying Hamas, and pushing conspiracy theories about Trump for 9 years. If you want forgiveness, get on your filthy knees and pray to Allah, because you aren't welcome on the right and you aren't ever going to find a redemption arc no matter how hard you pander." And she goes on and on. I'm going to keep calling you out every time you try to move an inch closer to many on the right, because you're too dense and too dumb, because they're too dense and too dumb to decode your subversion, but I'm not. So look, there are lots of people on the right who think that you're on some great move here to, as she puts it, wiggle your way into the middle and over to the right, so you can then poison MAGA with your, as she puts it, subhuman political takes.
Now, I don't always agree with Laura Loomer, but in this one, she hit the nail right on the head with the hammer. And even Dave Rubin called him a grifter. Look, Piers is right. Cenk has a lot of people on the right believing that Cenk Uygur is on this weird kind of redemption arc. But that's not the case, and the people that are paying attention aren't falling for it. In my opinion, he's losing a lot of his followers, and he's trying to replace them by tricking people on the right into thinking that he is on a redemption arc and possibly going over and subscribing to his Young Turks network. Which, while we're on the subject, won't you consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy this type of content? Now let's get back to it.
Your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay, so look, this is, people like Laura Loomer and Dave Rubin are the exact problem. And I think actually somebody else on this panel was part of the solution. That's Dave Smith. And I want to come back to that in a second. So when you have people like Dave Rubin switch all of their positions, what happens is when you go to do nuance and you say, hey guys, hold on, let me explain, hold on. Yeah. Hey, go pleasure Trump again. Go pleasure Trump again.
Jake, do you know that
he goes from Bernie to Trump and pretends. Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I tell people what I believe in.
What do you believe in? You believed in something yesterday. You don't believe in anything today.
Yeah, what position? What position do you think I hold that I don't honestly believe?
Can I answer the
Name one.
question?
Yeah.
Can I answer the question? Can I answer Trump?
Yeah, what position do I say that I believe that I don't really believe? Go ahead.
Brother, you went on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. You went on Tucker Carlson on Fox News and said gay people, that the fact that the fire department was recruiting gay people was why there was forest fires. You're a national embarrassment, okay?
Right.
You pleasure those guys for a living.
Piers, you can pull up the clip tomorrow if you want.
Okay?
I was talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you shouldn't hire people based on their genitals or their sexual orientation. And we now all know that. You have been one of the prime pushers of all of this neo-racism. I believe in meritocracy, that whether you're going to be a doctor or a firefighter or a basketball player or anything else, you should be hired on your qualifications, not your genitals or sexual orientation or skin color.
Yeah.
That's actually America. So
question?
you can keep trying here.
Yeah, finish your point, Piers, then I'll go to Dave Smith.
Listen, yes. When this country desperately needs to unite against the establishment on things we all agree on. So things like all the populists hate corruption. All the populists hate war. By the way, Dave doesn't. Dave will demand that we start every war for Israel and pay for all of Israel's war. So he's been establishment on that all along. But when you go to say, hey, can we get an agreement on things that we agree on? The left pushes back because they're so afraid. They got traumatized by the Dave Rubins in the world. They're like, oh, if you take one step, not even in their direction, if you allow the right wing to take a step in our direction, they're worried that you're going to be a fraud like Dave Rubin and change all of your positions overnight. So my friends on the left, do not get scarred by this fraud of a man. There are other people like Dave Smith who
Well, let me bring in Dave
is a
Smith.
libertarian.
All right.
We disagree on other issues.
Let me bring in
but
Dave
we
Smith.
can actually unite on the things that we care
All
about.
right. Let me bring in Dave Smith.
In order to unite, you got to get past the frauds like Dave Rubin.
All right, Dave Smith. Welcome back to Uncensored. Obviously, things have kicked off. I actually thought there might have been a coming together moment, and not the way it went, but it's gone the opposite way. Let's just take what Dave Rubin was saying and then how Cenk responded. But it seems to me that this big tent thing of Trump, I mean, it's very real. His popularity in America has never been higher than it is today. He's got an incredible mandate. The Republicans basically now are in charge of absolutely everything. You've got everyone who formally distanced themselves in 2016 racing down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and so on. I mean, it's a real opportunity, but it's undeniably an extraordinary coming together of people from all types of political views and so on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say for the record that I like both Dave and Cenk.
So do I. I agree.
Cenk did work in a compliment toward me, and Dave, you weren't able to do that, so I'm going to be on Cenk's side on this issue now.
Dave, you and I have some differences. I've never gone after you. I like you, absolutely.
That's true. Listen, I don't look bigger than your guys' like personal beef. I think it's what's going on here is really kind of amazing. Well, okay, but I'm just saying if you zoom out here, I think since this last election, people are focused on this kind of realignment and the new political dynamics in America. But if you look back 8 years ago in 2016, during this election in both major political parties, you had essentially civil wars. I mean, Donald Trump came in and took over the Republican Party against the will of the establishment and the donor class. In 2016, the RNC was floating out the idea of changing the rules, as you remember well, Piers, all the way up until the convention. They were floating out the idea of trying to steal this thing from Donald Trump. Of course, that same year, the Bernie Sanders movement had to be flat out cheated by the Democratic establishment. So it's not as if these things haven't been building for quite a long time. I think what happened in this election is that the thing that unified people around Trump was one, like Dave, like you said, me and you disagree on a lot of issues. I think a lot of people who ended up supporting Trump disagree on a lot of issues. The one thing that united all of us is that we opposed the blatant corruption of the establishment and the corporate media apparatus, which is nothing more than the mouthpiece of the regime, constantly in the business of lying to the American people in service of the regime. And this is so this is how you're able to get a liberal like Bobby Kennedy and a liberal like Tulsi Gabbard and somebody like J.D. Vance or somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, why they can all come together is that they all oppose the corruption that permeates D.C. that has truly, profoundly degraded this country over the last 25 years. And I think that there's just with that basic understanding, there's a lot that people, even with very different political views, can agree on.
Yeah.
Excellent analysis from Dave Smith there. Leave it to the libertarian to come in and set the record straight. This dude is really intelligent. I'm loving everything that he's doing right now. I highly recommend you follow him on X and check out his channel over on YouTube. But next I want to bring in Lindy Liu, who is going to set the stage for the next Cenk and Dave Rubin battle. Let's go ahead.
I mean, Lindy, no disrespect to her, because she's a perfectly nice woman. She would not inspire me to open a bag of chips. I mean, seriously. And I think that she sort of personifies now the ghost of Christmas past, as does Biden. The Democrats have got to move on quickly, haven't they?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. She's indulging delusions of running for governor in California in 2026 and perhaps even running for president in 2028. And I just want to echo what a lot of you guys already said. This past week has been harrowing for me. This Saturday, I went on Fox and Friends and I said that Democrats have a stench of loser hanging over them.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, there were boycott campaigns against me, unblock, unfollow campaigns. I lost 40,000 followers.
Really?
In 4 days. People have called me the W word. I don't know what we're allowed to say, but you can fill in the blank.
We're uncensored. Let's say it. Say it. Say what the word was.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Well, they called me a whore. They called me the C word. They asked for me to
Disgusting.
be deported, and you can just search for my name in those terms on X, and you'll see a bunch of them. So all these so-called Democrats, the party of inclusion, the party of diversity, masks off. And it's even worse because they pretend to occupy the moral high ground. At least with Republicans, they are who they are. But with Democrats, they pretend to be, so loving and caring and embracing of diversity. But all of a sudden, when I dare to utter any criticisms of the goddess, Kamala Harris, I get ostracized. Me, after having raised tens of millions of dollars for the party. And I'm being called a grifter when all along, all these years, I've said on TV, I've said to the press, I'm a conservative Democrat. This is not a switch for me. This is just me. This is who I've always been.
Yeah.
And also, my donors are pissed. They raised $2.5 billion across Super PAC in the campaign. It's my responsibility. It's my duty of care to ask what the hell happened with that money? Why did we spend it? Why did we spend millions of dollars on five-star hotels for campaign staffers? Why did we spend $500,000 essentially bribing Al Sharpton moments before he interviewed Kamala? These are legitimate questions, but no, in the cult, you can't ask questions.
Yeah.
And leaving the Democratic Party or even questioning the Democratic Party is like leaving a cult. It's terrifying.
Yeah, Dave Rubin, I mean, that's actually really unpleasant to listen to, isn't it? I mean, the idea that a woman who her only crime was to try and raise money for a pretty hopeless candidate, and obviously that didn't work, but the idea that immediately she raises criticism, legitimate, and in my view, entirely correct criticism of the party, she is abused in that kind of horribly misogynistic and disgusting manner. What does that tell you about where we are?
Sure. Well, I would say, Piers, we have a living, breathing example of that happening on this panel right now, which is that what she just illustrated there is a bunch of attacks on her character and her behavior and saying awful things, and you can describe them as misogynistic and all those things. Look at everything that Cenk just said to me. These are just attacks, not on my beliefs, but on my character, which again, he couldn't illustrate one thing that I say that I don't believe. I woke up very early to the excesses of the left, what we now know as wokeness. I came out against identity politics, and I wanted to return America to what it was founded on, which was individual liberty and judging everyone by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. The progressive movement is wildly attached to something that brings everyone back to ancient hatred. So when you leave the left, as both of the ladies just pointed out, you will get unending hatred, usually having nothing to do with what you believe or you say. And again, I would just have anyone rewind the video and listen to the nonsense that Cenk said about me to prove that it still exists.
Well, Cenk, I mean, you did launch a very aggressive ad hominem attack on Dave Rubin off the top, which was your decision to do that. But in relation to his specific question, Cenk, can you say one thing that Dave Rubin believes in today that you don't think he believes?
Donald Trump has YMCA. Isn't there a firefighter
Well,
in there?
before,
Dave, shut up.
Hold on. Look, there's a couple of super important things to say here. First of all, in answering your question, look, Dave doesn't believe in any of the positions he believed in. Before he thought he believed in affirmative action, he believed in this. Okay, affirmative action. And now he says it's the worst thing in the world.
Affirmative action. I evolved. I used to believe in identity politics because I was a progressive like you.
You asked me to say.
Yes,
Why can't he change?
You asked me to name something you changed on. I named it.
You're telling me I don't believe what I'm saying right now. You're calling me a sellout.
Did you believe the Russian propaganda you were paid for?
Oh, you are an utter.
Did you believe the Russian propaganda you were paid for?
I was not paid, Cenk. I was not paid for it.
You were paid $100,000 a video.
Oh my God, you clown! I would recommend anyone look into that to find out a bit more on that. Cenk, how much when you took $1 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg? What did that do for you?
And did I change my positions at all? Not 1%. Not 1%. Okay, can I just address the core of the problem here?
What position do you think I hold that I cannot explain my beliefs on?
Jeffrey Katzenberg is in favor of... Okay, Jeffrey Katzenberg is a good guy, but he's in favor of Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. I was against all 3. What part of that is unclear? So look, Piers, there's 3
But
different
hang on.
Can I just
Hang on.
politics for a second?
Cenk, here's my point. The point Dave Rubin is making is, why shouldn't he be allowed to go on an evolution of his views? And why does that mean that right now you can say to him, as you did, you don't believe anything you're saying or believe now, when actually it's completely possible that he 100% believes everything he now says because he's changed his mind? Why can't he do that? And why don't you believe him?
I think that the left is scarred by people like Dave Rubin, who had a complete change. For example, Tulsi Gabbard goes from total progressive to total right-winger. On the other hand, RFK Jr. didn't go to a total right-winger. He still believes the things that he believes about the environment, about housing, about corruption, etc. So you have to be able to distinguish between the people who are doing it professionally, as I hate the word grift, but whatever it is that you want to call it, and the people who have genuine disagreements and genuine nuance in their opinions. So, for example, guys, there's 3 different branches of each party. There is the radical right, radical left, there's the populist left and populist right, and then there's the establishment of both parties. I despise the establishment with every fiber of my being. And I've been doing that same exact program for over 22 years, longest running show in internet history. And we've never wavered on that. But now the radical left, unfortunately, is doing what you're worried about, Piers, that the minute that they see anything where you say, I agree with the right, when they agree with us on something like anti-war, they go, oh my God, hold on, let me finish the thought. Let me finish the thought. And what people then say is, oh no, he's going to pull a Dave Rubin because these guys get paid to go fully right-wing and then they'll throw their own people under the bus. So they'll pick a gay guy like Dave to throw gay people under the bus. If you see me going after Muslims, if you see me going after people that I've always supported, then you have an issue. But part of and this is not a pivot, guys. We've been fighting the radical left for 2 straight years now because they say absurd things like, hey, if the right wing agrees with us, we shouldn't do it anyway. We had somebody leave the network because they said, everyone on the right wing is racist. If you agree with the right wing in anything, even if it's things that we agree on, that makes you racist, and it hurts black bodies.
All right.
See, that's absurd.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Of course it is. I mean,
You've
the
got to
irony
get to
is,
a reasonable populist
that you and
the
Dave
whole
Rubin
country
probably
agrees
agree with a lot more than you're prepared to ever admit. You just don't think his views are sincere because he's changed his mind on a number of positions. By the way, I used to think I was liberal.
It's not just that, Piers. He lied about us 20 times
I have
over.
nothing in common with modern woke liberals. Zero. Let me bring Dave Smith back in. Let me bring Dave Smith back in. Dave, look, this is part of the problem, it seems to me, is that actually, if people stopped the ad hominem stuff, they could find a lot of common ground.
Man, Cenk is such a disingenuous liar. It's so crazy. As somebody who's followed him pretty closely over the past 6-8 months, this dude is just unbelievable. He's out here claiming that he's fighting against the radical left for a decade, when the reality is he said just earlier this year that he's okay with his daughter going up against a little boy in a girl's sport. He was the one out here towing the line for the radical left, calling Trump a Nazi, fascist, crazy lunatic, claiming that Trump tried to pass his own electorates, claiming that Trump tried to rewrite the Constitution. Yeah, he was against Joe Biden being the candidate this year, but I can guarantee you he went and voted for Kamala Harris in this election. So when he says he was against Kamala Harris, he's lying. If he was against her, he wouldn't have voted for her. And there's no way Cenk is going to convince anybody on the right that's paying attention to what he's saying that he's actually converting over towards the right. It's only his own party that are turning on him because he's making some suggestions. He's trying to appeal to what he calls the populist right. You know, he's invented this whole term between, you know, he's invented this new term, populist left and populist right, when in reality, at least in my opinion, if right and left was on a line graph, populist would just be a big circle in the center. And it's a bit confusing to me why Cenk is so anti-Trump whenever he admits that Trump himself is a populist. Dave Smith even said in the beginning that the Republican Party almost changed the rules so that Donald Trump couldn't run in 2016. So to me, it's completely obvious that Donald Trump is the populist candidate, but I can't make any sense out of why Cenk Uygur would so wholeheartedly oppose him unless it was due to some type of outside funding, much like he accused Dave Rubin of taking Russian funds for $100,000 per video, which anybody that's looked into that knows it's pretty much a bunch of bullcrap, and it was propaganda used against right-leaning content creators so that the left can use it against Donald Trump when they were trying to beat him in this last election. Thankfully, it didn't work. But with that, I think I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. I want to remind you that you can catch me live with the Jar Openers podcast on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern on this channel. I'd love to see you guys there. Also, click the link down below to join the Discord. Thank you for watching to the end. That really helps me out in the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.